My name is Stuart Crawford. I'm a retired Lieutenant Colonel in the British Army. I spent 20 years in the Army as a tank officer in a Scottish Tank Regiment, plus various staff appointments at the British Staff College and also the US Staff College. And recently, over the past 20 years, I've become very interested and written quite a lot about how an independent Scotland, should it ever come to be, might design and set up its own armed forces. And I think that's of general interest over here, and so I'm delighted to come and give you my thoughts. Not that they were necessarily outstandingly great thoughts, but they're at least thoughts that people can debate. I've given a speech on how Scotland would organise its defence forces back home in the UK. And basically I start off by asking the very basic question, why would you bother having any armed forces at all? And so I hope I answer that question with three different parameters. And then I go on to look at an independent Scotland's place in the modern world, if it became independent, and what its foreign policy focus might be. And then from that I progress on to what are the threats, risks and opportunities that would present themselves to the independent state. What sort of armed forces would you need to defend yourself against those threats and risks and take advantage of the opportunities? And the final, the final question, which is the big question, is can you afford to pay for it? And that's an iterative process. You go through it 1, 2, 3 until such time as you come up with always a compromise answer. On what can be afforded, because the budget, the defence budget in the end, is a political decision, not a military decision. And from there, if I may continue, I'm going to describe in a little bit of detail the first model of an independent Scottish Defence Force that came out of the publication All the Blue Bonnets, which was published in 2012. And then I'm going to explain how we changed our minds slightly about 5 years ago and reorientated our thinking and our budget. And then I'm going to explain how Ukraine has blown everything out of the water again. And so we need to think again, but we haven't done it yet. And finally, I want to touch on a couple of things which I think are important, which are the leasing of bases in Scotland, particularly the nuclear independent deterrent base near Glasgow. Should Scotland get its freedom, whether it should insist that that is removed immediately, which I don't think will work, or whether it should be done gradually and the base rented to the remainder of the UK. And then we'll talk about various other things around about that.